took over the top-tier playboy. A year later, he came home later and later, looking at me with increasing disdain. I heard him say to someone else, "What right does such an ordinary woman have to make me settle down?" I let out a long sigh of relief. Perfect. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a reason to ask for a divorce. That's just how nice guys are, always putting others first. In the middle of the night, Feng Yu returned. He hadn't shown up for 2 months and had missed our wedding anniversary. I was half asleep when he flipped me over. Before my face was buried in the pillow, I caught a sharp, overwhelming perfume scent, bold and passionate, just like Feng Yu himself. But it was women's perfume. I struggled to turn my head and saw a face so handsome it had no flaws. His Adam's apple, big as a pigeon's egg, bobbed. His 8-pack abs were as hard as fortress walls, and the shark muscles on his sides were beautifully defined. His eyes burned with intense desire, as if he wanted to consume me entirely. No wonder he topped the must-try list voted by shady media for 5 consecutive years. At the sight of my face, Feng Yu paused for a moment, his eyes clearing slightly, and his enthusiasm immediately waned. But he didn't stop. The places where we touched felt like they were being forced into the spotlight, giving me goosebumps and making me instinctively want to escape. I called out honey twice, making some syrupy sounds. Then I said in a sugary voice, "Honey, why are you back early? I missed you so much. I missed you so much I didn't even eat dinner." Feng Yu completely lost interest now. He stopped what he was doing, climbed off the bed, and went to grab a cigarette from the nightstand. He said, "Are you 3 years old? Can't you feed yourself?" I let out a breath of relief, fobbing him off with that ridiculous excuse of missing him too much. Logically speaking, a man like Feng Yu, who had been with countless women, should have easily seen through my lie. But who could blame him when I had always acted so in love with him? I had chased him for 3 years, watched his girlfriends come and go, yet I never backed down. Feng Yu once commented that I was the most persistent simp he had ever seen. I drifted back to sleep. Feng Yu went to the balcony to smoke. He was on the phone, and his voice faintly reached my ears. "Brother Feng, you haven't come out to play in ages. Staying faithful for your wife." Feng Yu let out a scornful laugh. A woman as ordinary as her? What makes her worthy of settling me down? Honestly, the first time, I almost couldn't bring myself to kiss her. The person on the other end of the line burst out laughing. Feng Yu cursed. "It's the middle of the night. Everyone's asleep. Keep it down." Just as I was about to fall asleep, Feng Yu finished his smoke and came back. He placed a small box by my pillow, fighting off drowsiness. I took a look. Inside the box was a pair of diamond earrings, very pretty. That is, if I hadn't seen another piece from the same collection, a necklace priced 10 times higher, and hadn't known these earrings were actually a free gift with that necklace. But I wasn't the least bit angry. In fact, I felt a strange sense of anticipation. It had been a year. After we got married, Feng Yu seemed to have completely settled down. Finally, he was about to lose control.
So was I.
I'm an honest person, but I'm shallow. I'm plain-looking myself, yet I have a thing for handsome guys. The thought of an ugly man grunting on top of me makes me prefer death. I've always worked hard since I was young, because I know deep down that I have neither looks nor family background, and no handsome guy will ever like me in this lifetime. I did okay in the college entrance exam, but it wasn't enough. Graduates from non-prestigious schools are a dime a dozen. After finishing my master's, it still wasn't enough, so I went on to get a PhD. With my honest, unassuming face and absolute obedience to my advisor, I graduated with excellent grades and smoothly entered a top-tier research institute. I thought that was almost enough, but the first time I saw Feng Yu, I knew it was still far from enough. I accompanied my superiors for drinks, went back to work overtime after drinking, and wrote papers for my boss's kids on weekends. Finally, at a young age, I reached the deputy section chief level. I started to be qualified to pursue Feng Yu. During that time, people also tried to set me up on blind dates. I went to meet them, and after each one, it only strengthened my resolve to pursue Feng Yu. After every blind date, I would go find Feng Yu to cleanse my eyes. Once, at 2 in the morning, he happened to need a designated driver, and I didn't hesitate to go. Feng Yu asked me, "Do you really like me that much?" When he asked, there was a stunningly drunk beauty in the passenger seat of his convertible, her shoulder half exposed. I nodded heavily, without hesitation, because I don't have a fetish for ugliness. I said, "Feng Yu, I love you." Everyone has a love for beauty. That saying should be interpreted this way. If it only meant enjoying dressing up all pretty, that would be too superficial. No matter what I look like, I love myself. Feng Yu burst into laughter at my sudden confession. His disheveled hair blew in the wind, revealing his narrow, long-lashed eyes. So stunningly beautiful, it was almost unreal. I suspect he got surgery, but I don't mind. His pinkish knuckles held a slender, mint-flavored cigarette butt, ash scattering to the ground with the motion of his body. Chen Sainan, you're the first person in a while to make me laugh. Right, even my name is so ordinary. From that night on, he started to give me some response. It went from never accepting any of my 10 invitations to accepting 1 or 2 when he was in a good mood. Sometimes, he'd even grace me with eating the food I brought. But in the end, we got together, not like some idle drama where he was moved by me and turned over a new leaf. He just got tired of playing around and was being pressured by his family to get married. I have a high education, I don't party, I have a decent job, and I'm a good homemaker. Feng Yu's whole family, except for him, really likes me. I don't care about the reason. I just know that I no longer have nightmares about an ugly husband and an ugly son. The day I posted our official announcement on my Moments, I felt triumphant, rubbing it in the faces of everyone who said I was delusional. At the wedding, seeing Feng Yu's face, like a masterpiece of art, I was so excited I turned red-hot all over. His 8-pack abs were teasing me, faintly visible under his shirt. When the officiant told us to kiss, I deliberately brushed against his chest and his little hard nub. If only I could tie him up, use a diamond harness. Just thinking about it made me, this innocent little girl, weak in the knees. Feng Yu didn't notice anything off. After all, I'm the steady, reliable type. His kiss was perfunctory, all technique and no emotion. I didn't care. I could make myself happy. That night, I was so happy I could have exploded, my heart like a sponge filled with spring water, and I let out a sigh of contentment. The only fly in the ointment was that Feng Yu lacked any sense of service, didn't consider my feelings at all. After all, I was probably the ugliest person he'd ever slept with. Outside, the streetlights were like man-made stars, compensating for humanity's regret over losing the starry sky. I gazed at Feng Yu's sleeping brows and eyes, couldn't help but curl my lips. Those sharp, thick eyebrows, that high straight nose, those beautifully shaped thin lips. Damn, he was handsome, even more so than the hottest celebrities. He had no flaws except for not liking me. Oh well, nobody's perfect, right? As long as he's not disfigured, I'll love him. Us honest people are just that loyal in love. But is what I feel for Feng Yu really love? What is love anyway? Freud said love stems from humanity's desire for wholeness. Jung said the great soul is androgynous, and so-called love at first sight is just falling in love with another self. So, back then when I fell for Feng Yu, maybe it was to pursue a complete self. Now that I am complete, I suppose that's it. The next day, when I woke up, Feng Yu was still asleep. Messages kept popping up on his phone, each with profile pictures and usernames that looked very influencer-like. As for the content, I didn't look at it. I thoughtfully plugged his nearly dead phone into the charger. As I stepped over Feng Yu, he grabbed my ankle. Without opening his eyes, he pulled me down onto him. "Give me some attention," he said. His voice was still husky with sleep, low and seductive beyond words. A year ago, I would have excitedly pounced on him. But now, I struggled to get up from him. "Honey, there's a big boss coming today. I can't be late." Feng Yu's expression didn't look too happy. Before leaving, I made sure to tell him, "Honey, I'm going on a 3-day business trip. Take care of yourself." Afraid he might not have heard, I sent him the same message on WeChat, but I still wasn't at ease. Because I remembered he had set my WeChat messages to mute. So I also sent a message to one of Feng Yu's friends. "I'm going on a 3-day business trip. Please look after Feng Yu. Thank you." I arrived at work on time. I worked overtime for a while in the evening. My boss even showed some concern. "Xiao Chen, the business trip has been postponed anyway, so no need to rush the materials. Go home early." I said, "I'll leave once I finish this document." But despite saying that, I didn't clock out until 10:30. At 10:30, I saw through the surveillance app on my phone that a woman was knocking on my door. When he opened the door, Feng Yu was only wearing a pair of sleep pants. The woman seemed shy. Feng Yu gave her a glance up and down, then stepped aside to let her in. I nearly floored the accelerator. Take it easy, take it easy. Feng Yu won't be that quick." At 11 o'clock, I arrived at my doorstep. My hand was trembling as I unlocked the door. I entered the wrong password once. When I opened the door, the floor was a mess. Lace underwear, torn stockings, too disgusting to look at. For an honest person like me, it was a huge shock. But Feng Yu seemed much faster than I expected. The bedroom door suddenly swung open in front of me, and the naked woman was pushed to the doorway. She said to the person inside, aggrieved, "Feng Yu, I flew all the way here for you. Don't kick me out so soon. If you want something different, I can." Her answer was Feng Yu tossing out her underwear. "I've transferred the ticket money to you. Get lost now," Feng Yu said lazily as he walked out. The woman still wouldn't give up. "If you're not interested in me, I have a sister. She's drop-dead gorgeous. Let me show you her picture. She's nearby. We can go to the club together and have some fun." He raised his eyelids slightly, glanced at the photo, and before he could speak, he looked up and saw me. The woman instantly fell silent. The room was dead silent. The woman said before leaving, "I've sent you the address. Hurry up and come." Feng Yu slammed the door shut. He turned around and asked me, "Why are you back early? Have you had dinner? Want to eat something? I'll order takeout for you." His expression was natural, completely, without the guilt of being caught. But he was talking a lot more than usual. I didn't say a word in reply. Feng Yu reached for the cigarettes in the drawer of the coffee table, and suddenly, I remembered something. Feng Yu once really liked a certain ex-girlfriend. She didn't like the smell of smoke and directly said she didn't want to breathe secondhand smoke. During that time, Feng Yu quit smoking. Unfortunately, that girl later went abroad to develop her career, and they broke up amicably due to the long-distance relationship. If they hadn't broken up, there might not have been any room for me. After that, Feng Yu never quit smoking for anyone, and certainly not for me. But I also didn't want to breathe secondhand smoke, so I would regularly collect the cigarettes at home and throw them away. When Feng Yu couldn't find any cigarettes, he scratched his hair in irritation. A few seconds later, he pulled me into his arms and kissed me. I didn't close my eyes and saw his expression, which looked like he was facing a martyr's sacrifice. I pushed him away. Feng Yu's expression turned ugly. He must have never been rejected by a woman before, especially not by an ordinary woman like me. I questioned him. "Who was that woman just now? What do you think?" Feng Yu's eyes flashed with impatience. "Chen Sainan, have I been spoiling you? Back then, you chased after me. You shamelessly insisted on being with me. It's not like you're meeting me for the first time. You've already accepted who I am long ago. What are you making a fuss about now?" I shed a few tears and smiled bitterly. I can accept that the person I pursued dated others, broke up, dated again, and broke up again. But I never said I could accept my husband's infidelity. My tears fell heavily. Feng Yu's hand trembled, his expression shifted. But after a moment he said, "What's the difference? If you can't accept it, you can divorce me." He said the word divorce lightly, just like when he broke up with each of his previous girlfriends. He was certain that I couldn't bear to leave him, that I would cry and make a scene to win him back, just like those ex-girlfriends, maybe even more extreme. Once, I thought so too. The streetlights outside seemed broken, flickering on and off, making them look more like stars. But at 4 or 5 in the morning, they'd suddenly go out, snapping you back to reality. It's even worse than Cinderella reverting at midnight. At least she was a genuinely kind-hearted beauty. I said softly, "Okay." Feng Yu was stunned. Before he could react, I continued, "Feng Yu, let's get divorced." Feng Yu's face instantly turned extremely ugly, so ugly that I thought he might hit me. He laughed in fury instead. "Chen Sainan, you're something else. Don't come crying back later, wagging your tail like a puppy after me. Feng Yu, am the one who dumped you." As he left, he took out his phone and put it on speaker. "Send me the address again. I'll be right there." From the phone came the noisy music of a nightclub and the woman's voice from earlier. "Hurry up. My friends have heard of you. They like you too. We can have a threesome." Feng Yu didn't look back. The door slammed shut in front of me again with force. The wedding photo on the wall shook from the vibration. The handsome groom and the bride, a small beauty after heavy Photoshop, stood together sweetly, hand in hand. The bride gazed at the groom, her eyes full of love, while the groom looked at the camera, calm yet slightly impatient. No matter how you looked at it, they didn't match. Fortunately, it's over now. I let out a long sigh of relief, completely relaxing. Actually, there's one more thing I lied to Feng Yu about. My business trip isn't 3 days, it's 3 years. at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I waited for Feng Yu from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, but he never showed up. I thought he'd storm over in a rage, arm in arm with some gorgeous woman, ready to divorce me after getting my text. Ended up wasting an extra day of personal leave for nothing. Forget it. 2 years of separation is enough to file for divorce. Fine being temporarily married, and having what looks like a happy family actually helps with my evaluations and promotions. I didn't bother trying to contact Feng Yu again, but I posted a few emo status updates on WeChat, visible only to him and his fair weather friends. The day before I left, I got a message from one of Feng Yu's buddies. Chen Sainan, you and Feng Yu aren't from the same world. I couldn't be bothered to correct his misspelling of my name. Then he sent me a video. In the video, Feng Yu is leaning back on the couch, holding a beer bottle in one hand, with liquor trickling down his neck and into his shirt, leaving suggestive trails. On either side of him sat stunning women, the kind that make people on the street do a double take. The person filming meant to show me how wild and carefree Feng Yu was, but right at that moment someone shouted, "And Jiao came back last week." Feng Yu showed no reaction, but knowing him as I did, I instantly noticed his hand tightening around the bottle. No wonder Feng Yu had pushed aside work and come back early, not to make up for our missed wedding anniversary, but to not miss her. And Jiao, what a novel heroine's name. She was Feng Yu's ex who had gone abroad to develop her career, the one he once wanted to marry, the woman who could truly make a playboy settle down and a womanizer change his ways. This video was poorly shot. With only 30 seconds left, the leading lady made her dazzling entrance. A seductive woman appeared at the private room door, and amid the crowd's cheers, she walked straight to Feng Yu. Then the video cut off abruptly. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to go. At the club entrance, I easily found Feng Yu's car, an Audi RS. I had arrived at just the right time. I just happened to see Feng Yu come out with a cigarette. He leaned against the car with his long legs crossed, his slightly curly hair blown up by the evening wind, revealing a clear and sharp jawline. His outstanding looks drew many glances from passers-by, but none of them caught his eye, until Jiao came out. She pulled out a flattering yet awkward smile and said lightly, "Feng Yu, you really can't stand me. Not even a single greeting?" Feng Yu ignored her, but as she approached, he stubbed out the cigarette he'd just taken 2 puffs from. She said, "I heard you got married." He replied, "To a woman who's been licking your boots for years? None of your damn business." And Jiao wasn't deterred by Feng Yu's attitude. She asked again, "Do you like her?" Feng Yu let out a cold laugh without answering. Then came a long, heavy silence. And Jiao quietly watched Feng Yu, tracing his brows and eyes with her gaze. He let her look, and time suddenly stretched, thick and sticky. Finally, and Jiao turned to leave. Before she did, she said, "I've never been one for regrets, but I can't help wondering, if I hadn't left back then? Anyway, congratulations on your marriage." Her voice was drowned out by a passing car, but I knew Feng Yu heard every word. He spoke abruptly, "I've never liked her." I ended the video recording. I had thought I could use some leverage to get Feng Yu to divorce me quickly. Now I realize I was just flattering myself all along. Feng Yu didn't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau simply because he was having too much fun and didn't see my message, not because he didn't want to divorce me. The night breeze carried Feng Yu's scent, gently brushing past my unknowingly moistened eyes. 3 years of chasing. 1 year of having my wish fulfilled. I once thought that Feng Yu and I would spend our whole lives together. When Feng Yu got old, the gap in our looks would narrow, and no one would ever say we weren't a good match anymore. That year, we did have quite a few warm moments, like shopping together, watching TV together. Well, that's about it. I can't say I had no feelings for Feng Yu. Us honest people always end up getting hurt. Luckily, the feelings weren't deep. I walked briskly with my hands in my pockets, leaving behind a couple who couldn't help but embrace and kiss after their long separation. That night, I left the divorce agreement behind and boarded the plane. Starting from the night Chen Sainan proposed the divorce, Feng Yu hadn't been back for a month. During this time, he either stayed at a friend's place or at a nightclub, or sometimes at a place wherein Jiao sat beside Feng Yu. Detecting Feng Yu's gaze, she turned her head and offered a smile. Her slender, swan-like neck was adorned with a diamond necklace. Incidentally, he had bought it as a set, along with a pair of diamond earrings. On the day he learned that Jiao was coming back, he was at the jewelry store picking out a wedding anniversary gift for Chen Sainan. He hadn't originally planned to give one. He was long tired of celebrating holidays. Maybe in the early days of his first love, he would still observe them, but after dating more, he had stopped bothering. But this wedding anniversary was a first. While on a business trip, he received a message from Chen Sainan. "Honey, happy wedding anniversary. Hard work at the office." There was also a picture of a scarf she was knitting. To Feng Yu, it was something both old-fashioned and fresh. So he walked into the jewelry store. Seeing that diamond necklace, he thought of Jiao. And Jiao was in the same line of work as him, also a model. Her neck was exceptionally beautiful, like a white swan. But even Feng Yu hadn't expected that he would end up marrying not a white swan, but an ugly duckling. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but curl his lips into a smile. Just then, as if fate was playing a joke on him, he received a call from a friend saying that Jiao was coming back and she was still single. With his friend still chattering away on the phone, Feng Yu had already asked the shop assistant to pack up the diamond necklace. The assistant said, "Sir, this is our hottest new item this season, and it comes with a complimentary pair of diamond earrings." And Jiao didn't have pierced ears, but Chen Sainan did. So, he was buying this anniversary gift for Chen Sainan. The friend on the phone heard this and teased him. "You're not planning to give it to Jiao, are you?" Feng Yu said, "How could that be? Why would I give a gift to a woman who dumped me? That would be pathetic." But now, that necklace was around Jiao's neck. She didn't need to do anything. Just quietly looking at him was enough to make her his exception. They were compatible in soul, and even more so in body. Feng Yu's phone suddenly vibrated. Chen Sainan's name flashed through his mind, but after unlocking the phone, he remembered that he had long set Chen Sainan's messages to silent, so the person sending the message couldn't be Chen Sainan. Feng Yu tossed his phone aside, and Jiao suddenly sneezed, then curled into his arms. She said, "It's already spring. Why is it still so cold? I should have brought my scarf." Feng Yu remembered the scarf Chen Sainan had knitted for him. He said, "I have one. Let me get it for you." With that, he grabbed his car keys and stood up. His friends were still joking around. "This is killing me, a single dog." First time seeing Brother Feng so considerate. And Jiao looked a bit embarrassed, but her eyes were full of pride. There were many people coming and going around Feng Yu, but the one he truly liked was her. Of course, there were plenty of men around her too, but Feng Yu always managed to stand out. And Jiao thought Feng Yu was going to get it from the car, not knowing he was driving home to fetch it. The night wind howled past his ears. A driver rolled down the window to curse at him for abruptly changing lanes. When he reached the doorstep, Feng Yu glanced at the time. Chen Sainan should be asleep by now, but he didn't bother to tread lightly for her sake. The door creaked open louder than usual. Without even changing his shoes, he walked into the bedroom and asked, "The scarf you knitted for me, where is it?" The bedroom was silent, no one answered him. Feng Yu turned on the light, and of course, there was no one on the bed. On the bedside table was a small box containing the pair of diamond earrings. Feng Yu saw the divorce agreement on the living room table. Spanning thousands of kilometers, the distance from north to south rivaled going abroad. It took me a month to adapt to the humid southern climate, no longer bothered by sticky hair. Sister, don't judge by my appearance. I'm actually someone who holds grudges. The guy in front of me, making small talk, was one I matched with on a dating app. He was good-looking, but I had nothing to chat with him about. I set an alarm and left. I was a stranger in this place, so I used dating apps recklessly, without fear of being spotted by acquaintances. I met a man every week to kill time. The best way to get over a crush on a handsome guy is to meet handsome guys. Though I'm no longer so obsessed with beauty, who would choose an ugly guy? 2 months into my plan of finding gold in a pile of crap, I actually struck gold. The man was 15 minutes late. He was wearing a suit with an exquisite cut, and his hair was styled with wax. But maybe because he had walked in a hurry, a few strands had fallen loose, making him look less formal. His features were soft and pleasant to look at, with a straight nose bridge and lips that were neither thin nor thick. The corners of his mouth seemed to carry a natural hint of a smile. He wasn't as striking as Feng Yu, but he gave people a very comfortable feeling. He spoke very appropriately. "Sorry, it's my treat." During the meal, I could tell he was not from the same social class as me. He was probably much wealthier than Feng Yu's family. The Feng family were a moderately well-off local family in Beijing. Feng Yu worked as a model and had started his own streetwear brand, earning a lot but spending even more. But this man in front of me, I couldn't see through him. Throughout our conversation, I felt very comfortable. That meant he was lowering himself to my level. Logically, I knew that if I were just passing the time, I shouldn't choose someone like him. But emotionally, I was a little reluctant to let him go, especially when I almost fell and he caught me. He gentlemanly let go of my hand and switched to supporting my arm. After I was steady, he promptly stepped back a bit, so proper that it made him seem hard to get. I caught the faint, cool scent of his cologne, silver mountain water, perhaps, and impulsively said, "Mr. Jiang, want to grab a drink?" Jiang Weichen looked momentarily surprised, then laughed. "This isn't what you said when you invited me." I didn't press the issue. "Then forget it." But just as I spoke, he added, "I don't like bars," implying we go to my place. Maybe it was because the southern night was especially beautiful, with streetlights flickering and a bustling, bright glow. Without hesitation, I nodded.
Fine.
We're both adults, no need to be coy. Half an hour later, Jiang Weichen and I were clinking glasses by the roadside. I said, "See? There are other places besides bars and my home." After one bottle, I started chatting about Hegel, Kant, and my views on love. After 2 bottles, I told him I was married to an incredibly handsome man, a teenage dream come true. He raised an eyebrow but didn't leave. After 3 bottles, I said, "We've grown apart, separated, heading for divorce. So it's not cheating." Jiang Weichen seemed to smile. He said, "I wouldn't mind even if you cheated." When a person's immoral behavior doesn't harm anyone, it's not immoral, I said. That's sophistry. After 4 bottles, we talked, from the Tang dynasty to the current marriage system. After 8 bottles, I asked him, "Are you big?" I woke up at my own place. Jiang Weichen set me back, laid me on the bed, even helped me remove my makeup, and then left. I recalled last night's events. I felt a bit regretful. It seemed that to save face, I had to give up on this golden opportunity. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. That thought stayed with me until Monday, when I met the new boss in the meeting room. Jiang Weichen was dressed in a shirt, trench coat, and trousers, tall and imposing. He smiled and greeted us, saying, "I look forward to your guidance." No wonder we clicked. Turns out we were eating from the same trough. A well-informed female colleague whispered in my ear, "I heard he has connections up top." Gossip like this is tasteless, so I brushed it off with a few words. My female colleague, competitive, said, "Just wait. I'll dig up more and report back." She spent the whole morning digging up a few more pieces of info. He graduated from Harvard, a northerner from the same place as you. His parents are both in the system. I already knew that from the personnel file.
No way.
Don't look at me like that. Just wait, I'll go again. The result of her going again was that in the break room, Jiang Weichen said to me, "I heard you're asking about me." I almost spilled my coffee in his face. "If you want to know something, you can just ask me directly." I gave an awkward laugh. No. Jiang Weichen smoothly continued, "If you're too shy, you can buy me dinner." I initially wanted to refuse, but then I thought, he's half a level above me, and I was afraid he'd make things difficult for me. So I agreed. Nearing the end of the workday, a female colleague leaned in front of me, her face screaming, "Ask me, ask me." I sighed and reluctantly asked, "Did you find out if Jiang Weichen stands or sits when he pees?" She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't look down on me. I found out he transferred here for his fiancée." "Forget it. That's probably not juicy enough for you. You're not surprised, are you? So handsome, such good conditions. How could he still be single? Hey, why are you walking away? I'm not done yet. So handsome and with such great qualities. How could he still be single? Hey, why are you leaving? I'm not done talking yet." Before going to the appointment, I put on makeup. Not the kind of seemingly effortless natural look that actually took an hour last time. This time, I changed to a celebrity-inspired makeup style that I had carefully studied and found suitable for my face shape and features. Before leaving, I received a call from Feng Yu. Seeing the word husband on my phone screen, I was startled. Feng Yu had almost never called me before. Back then, even when I was at business dinners until 10 o'clock, he wouldn't call to check on me. I hung up and replied to him on WeChat. "I'm about to go out. If there's something, you can text me first." When I got into the car, I still hadn't received a message from Feng Yu. After thinking for a moment, I sent him another message. "Is there something in the divorce agreement you're not satisfied with?" After I sent it, a red exclamation mark appeared. He had deleted me. My finger subconsciously tapped into Feng Yu's moments. His moments were visible even to non-friends. The latest post was a screenshot of An Jiao's moments. And Jiao had posted, "You are my unbeatable summer," with a photo from a few years ago. On a summer night's beach, two silhouettes. The one with long hair was spinning and dancing, while the tall one supported her waist, afraid she might fall. Feng Yu reposted it with the caption, "No need for introductions, everyone knows." He clearly wasn't as literate as in Jiao. He probably didn't realize that the sentence she posted was adapted from Camus' The Wedding Collection. And Jiao wanted to marry Feng Yu. I scrolled down. Feng Yu's last WeChat moment was from 2 years ago, a photo at the airport with a location tag and the 2-word caption, "business trip." I couldn't see the comments below, but I knew how many there were. The location was in another city in the same country, wherein Jiao was. Anyway, his moments had never had anything to do with me. Even our wedding didn't have one. After dinner with Jiang Weichen, before we parted, Jiang Weichen suddenly spoke. "Not up for a drink?" I was about to refuse when he added, "You looked like you could use one tonight." And honestly, so do I. He was as perceptive as that stray dog that used to linger downstairs from my old apartment. If I avoided its eyes, it knew I didn't want to be bothered that day. If I slowed my pace, it would approach. If I was heading home, it would pretend it was also tired of playing and bid me farewell. Too bad it disappeared later. After a few drinks, I tugged at Jiang Weichen's tie and cried. "I know I'm average looking, but I've worked so hard. I have a good job and a good personality. Don't I deserve love?" Jiang Weichen took the wine glass from my hand and said with a smile, "Have you ever thought that the love you're talking about is just one kind of love, the kind that cares about looks? You're looking for the wrong person. He can only offer you that kind of love. There are also people who value a person's inner qualities more." I interrupted him, nodding. "I already know that. But why do people have to keep reminding me of it over and over? I know I'm average looking, and I've long accepted it. To be fair, I'm not ugly, just ordinary. But when someone keeps coming up to you and telling you you're average, it still makes you angry. That's what Feng Yu is doing now. He keeps telling me he doesn't like me at all." Jiang Weichen was caught between laughter and tears. "Since you already know that, why are you crying so loudly?" He got up and poured me a glass of water. "Yes, this time we were drinking at my place." I laughed twice. A rare opportunity. As I lay on the bed, I heard Jiang Weichen say, "If possible, next time we meet, you don't need to wear makeup. After all, every time I take it off for you, I worry about getting it in your eyes." He paused and said, "I'm not someone who judges by appearances." As he got up to leave, I suddenly spoke. "Don't go tonight." I saw Jiang Weichen's back stiffen. "I have a guest room here. I really don't want anything to happen with someone who's engaged. I'm afraid she'll come to my workplace with a banner." Women aren't like men in these matters. Once they encounter it, their career is ruined. The next morning, the guest room bed was made up with no sign of anyone having slept there. Apart from me, the house was empty. As I was thinking about what to order for delivery, the doorbell rang. It was Jiang Weichen, dressed in a tracksuit, holding a thermal lunchbox in his hand. He said very naturally, "You drank too much last night, so I cooked some millet porridge. I was out for a morning run and brought it by on the way." I was about to fall in love with him. Lucky for me, I'm a hurt, honest person. I won't easily believe in love again, nor do I believe he's interested in me. As I was seeing Jiang Weichen off, I spotted a familiar figure in the distance, smoking by the flower bed. Feng Yu's gaze fell on Jiang Weichen, whose hair was soaked with sweat, looking as if he had just taken a shower. Feng Yu crushed the cigarette in his hand. Jiang Weichen blocked in front of me, turning his head to ask, "Do you need me to explain to him?" As he spoke, he seemed to inadvertently lean close to me. I caught a faint smell of sweat, not unpleasant, even a bit alluring. I shook my head. No need. Only after saying that did I realize. How did he know that Feng Yu was my husband? A normal person probably wouldn't have guessed. Feng Yu said slowly, each word deliberate, "Chen Sainan, are you acting like I'm dead?" His expression was extremely ugly, glaring at me as if he wanted to devour me alive. Men are all the same. Whether they love you or not, they can't stand being cuckolded. I told Jiang Weichen to leave first. After he repeatedly confirmed, he left. Before going, he said softly, "I'll be nearby. Call me if you need anything." Feng Yu's eyes were dark and fierce. "You didn't answer my calls because you were with him? Could it be that just because I didn't answer his call yesterday, he came to interrogate me? We're just colleagues now, don't overthink it." Feng Yu clearly didn't believe it. He stepped closer, forcing me back to the corner. Do you take me for a fool? A colleague leaving your house early in the morning. I explained a bit. Look how handsome he is. Why would he be interested in me? That reason seemed solid. Finally, I said calmly but helplessly, if you insist on thinking that way, I can't help it. Feng Yu's expression froze for a moment. He grabbed my wrist, jaw tight, breathing uneven. Seeing he was about to lose his temper, I quickly added, besides, I've never questioned you about Jiao. Feng Yu's expression was still unpleasant, but as if something occurred to him, his brow relaxed slightly. Chen Sainan, you don't need to get revenge on me like this. The men willing to be with you are just playing around, looking for something free. Isn't that how it is? Feng Yu continued. If you're bothered by Jiao, I can delete those WeChat moments and won't bring her around you. In an instant, I understood what he meant. Jiao and I are inseparable. In the future, I can transfer half my annual income to your account as compensation for you. I couldn't help but laugh dryly. I looked up at him. Such a dazzling, stunning face, one I had chased for hundreds of days and nights, and even after I decided to give him up, I still couldn't help being dazed by his looks. But now I'm truly tired of it. I'm tired of this shallow, one-sided love. No matter how delicious an ice cream cone is, if you eat it for 1,000 days, you'll get sick of it. Especially when this cone is mediocre in quality, already licked by many others, and now it's about to sneak off behind your back to be licked by someone else. The thought of spending the rest of my life with this cone fills me with despair. I gave a bitter smile. Feng Yu, do I deserve to be treated like this by you? Over the years, I can honestly say I've never let you down in any way. Every time you went on a business trip, I packed your luggage for you. When you had no time to deal with the social obligations of your family, I handled it all myself. When your father was hospitalized, you were working abroad. It was me who found connections and arranged the surgery. I don't want to be a bystander in the love story between you and Gigi. Let's set each other free, Feng Yu. Or is it that you can't bear to? The reason a good person divorces is always because they've been hurt. Feng Yu looked momentarily stunned. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I understood him. If I were him, I wouldn't want to divorce myself either. It wasn't because he loved me that much, but because I was the kind of seemingly accomplished yet insecure, decent, and honest girl. Such a fine specimen wasn't common in today's society. Perfect for marrying. I quietly watched Feng Yu, not rushing for his answer, because no matter what he said, my decision wouldn't change. Finally, he said, Chen Sainan, you think too highly of yourself. Do you really think I can't bear to let you go? I'll have my lawyer send you the divorce papers. With that, he turned and left, as if I were some monster clinging to him from behind. I shrugged and casually said okay. Whatever he said was fine, as long as we could get divorced. Jiang Weichen and I hadn't made any progress. I deliberately kept my distance. When he sent messages, I replied politely and with restraint. With his high emotional intelligence, he surely understood my intentions. I met a new guy, very young, with a cute face in a band. I asked him why he wanted to meet me. The young pup was straightforward. He wanted to get to know people from different industries, ages, and backgrounds. I liked that answer. It was pressure-free. It was a one-time date, and in the end, I paid the bill. He wanted to add me on social media, but I refused. As I walked out of the restaurant, I received a phone call from my mom. Before I could even say a word, she started scolding me harshly. You want a divorce, Feng Yu? He's a local from Beijing. You, an outsider, married a local. Do you know how many years of hard work that saved you? Reading too many books has brainwashed you. I listened to her arrogant and smug voice on the phone, feeling a bit dazed. The last time she could scold me with such justification was probably when I was in elementary school. Because I said I wanted to keep the stray dog downstairs, she locked me out, saying the family could only keep one, either the dog or me. After my dad came back, she eagerly exaggerated the story and told him. My dad said she was making a mountain out of a molehill, mediated, and then let me back into the house. Later, because I was just too outstanding, she never found another chance to scold me. A book on East Asian families says that some mothers are misogynistic. She loves you, but can't help wanting to suppress and control you. Part of the reason is the absence of the husband role, and as a daughter, you have to take on some of the husband's functions. Ultimately, it's the ideological education and social environment that make women emotionally and spiritually dependent on men, yet men are creatures who easily disappear, or even if they don't, it's as if they have. My feelings for her went through many stages: confusion, anger, understanding, calmness, acceptance. I don't know if this book is right, but I have loved her all along. I just don't want to become her. I don't want to sacrifice my life, which should have infinite possibilities, for mediocre men and a mediocre marriage. On the phone came my dad's voice, as always trying to make peace. Don't be angry. Our daughter just acted on impulse. You know she's always been smart, and my dad. He's so ordinary, yet at home, he gets treated like an emperor. Someone cooks for him, does his laundry, bears his children, even gives him an outstanding daughter who carries his surname. All he has to do is put on a show of working hard outside. And me? I have to fight my way through thousands or tens of thousands just to get the same treatment at home as he does. When I said Feng Yu cheated, my mother's sharp voice cut off abruptly. Then my father said, "Could it be a misunderstanding? Xiao Feng isn't that kind of person." I added, more than once. My father kept saying, "But divorce is too rash." My mother's voice drowned us out. "Do you want mom to come keep you company?" The night breeze carried a hint of spring warmth. I smiled and said, "Mom, no need. I can handle it myself. You know I've always been smart." I tried to contact Feng Yu. We had agreed on the divorce agreement, but he still hasn't given it to me. Instead, he went to complain to my parents. At some point, he added me back, but my messages to him were met with silence, and when I called him, no one answered. Feng Yu's mother did contact me, of course to persuade us to reconcile. She said it was all Xiao Yu's fault, that she had already taught him a lesson, and he would give all his savings to me, and it would never happen again. I sent her that video directly. After watching it, she said, "Xiao Yu just." I interrupted her and said sadly, "Andy, I love Feng Yu very much, and I can't bear to leave him, but he treated me like this. I have no choice." Feng Yu's mother was obviously taken aback when she heard the title, Auntie. Before she could speak, I changed the subject and said, "Feng Yu is somewhat of a public figure. I don't want to make things ugly. Please tell him that if he still doesn't reply to my messages, I won't mind posting this video online." I heard the sound of something being thrown on the other end of the line. It seemed Feng Yu was there too. After saying that, I hung up. That same day, I received the divorce agreement. I took leave and went back to register the divorce. I waited half an hour at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Feng Yu arrived late, and Jiao was in his car, about to get out, when she saw my mother glaring at her. Yes, my mother had come after all. She had a neighbor's kid help her book a flight, came alone without telling me. And Jiao pulled her leg back in, afraid that my mother, a shrew from that small county town, would start cursing her as the other woman. My mother couldn't get at Jiao, so she started cursing Feng Yu. Feng Yu called out, "Mom. Don't call me Mom. Our Chen family doesn't have a son-in-law like you." When Feng Yu realized calling her Mom was useless and her cursing only got worse, his face turned ashen. He couldn't help but retort, "If your daughter hadn't begged me, I would never have thought of marrying her." That's just the kind of person Feng Yu was. Even when he was in the wrong, he wouldn't admit it. I grabbed my mother, whose voice was getting louder and louder. I didn't want to hear them argue. The divorce appointment I'd managed to get through connections was precious. I couldn't waste it. After that, the process went smoothly. The clerk reminded us to come back in a month to pick up the divorce certificate. Feng Yu's gaze lingered on my pale and haggard face for a long time until my mom pulled me away. And Jiao called him with a dark expression, and Feng Yu's car quickly disappeared. I think he originally wanted to bring Jiao to show off their relationship, but my mom ruined their plan. After they left, I went to a makeup counter to remove my makeup. Since my mom rarely gets to visit, I wanted to take her shopping, so I asked for more leave. When I asked for leave, my boss was in a difficult position. I had just received new tasks, and it was an extra temporary leave. I was about to give up. But half an hour later, my boss approved my leave. It was Jiang Weichen. He took over the tasks. After seeing my mom off and returning to work, I sent Jiang Weichen a thank you message. He replied with just 2 words. "No problem." Just those 2 brief words. I stared at it for 10 minutes. It was like a feather, tickling my heart. This guy, he's rather reserved. I stuffed the scarf that was originally meant for Feng Yu into the gift bag. After thinking it over, feeling a bit guilty, I bought a tie as well. After a month, I asked him out for a drink again. He didn't reply, and I wasn't disappointed. As adults, apart from money, there's nothing we absolutely must have. Half an hour later, he replied. I chose the place, still very brief. I replied okay, and then
My doorbell rang.
when I got a call from one of Feng Yu's shady friends, I had just accepted Jiang Weichen's confession. He said he's not easily moved, but from a few years ago, he thought I was extraordinary. I calculated the time he mentioned. Back then, I was about to finish my PhD, acting as a lackey to my advisor trying to get a good job. At the dinner table, I was teased and ridiculed, even subjected to dirty jokes. I kept my composure. The patriarchal culture hidden under modern civilization is fully displayed at such banquets. Women are like dishes served on the table, used for teasing and livening up the atmosphere. After the banquet, I arranged cars for each leader. Jiang Weichen came with another big shot, who was his relative, so he was hardly forced to drink, and I didn't need to arrange anything for him. He watched me throw up by the roadside, and after I finished, I cursed a bunch of people in dialect. Then I looked up and saw him. I was embarrassed at that moment, but figuring he probably couldn't understand my dialect, I relaxed. Putting on a fawning smile, I said, Teacher Jiang, why haven't you left yet? Actually, Jiang Weichen understood. He understood every foul word I said, and he also understood that I was spouting some cringy teenage nonsense. Then he smiled and said he was looking at the stars. I looked up and only saw the streetlights, thinking he might be blind, but since the boss said they were stars, they were stars. Jiang Weichen said that the look in my eyes was like I was looking at an idiot, but the words coming out of my mouth were very sycophantic. Later, he ran into me a few more times. Sometimes I had already gotten what I wanted, and sometimes I was still working toward it. Behind my innocent expression, my eyes couldn't hide my ambition. But before he even had a chance to ask for my contact info, he accidentally heard from someone else that I was pursuing Feng Yu. After he said that, I looked at him in surprise. You like me? He smiled helplessly. Didn't you already figure that out? You don't want to take responsibility for me, so you deliberately kept your distance. All right, I touched my nose guiltily and asked him, what about your fiancé? He was taken aback, then handed me his phone. I don't know where you heard those rumors. Whether I have a fiancé or not, you can see for yourself. I flipped through his phone. I didn't check WeChat much, mainly looked at the balance, and then decided, we can date a little. Jiang Weichen said, I haven't dated anyone all these years, so I need you to be patient. Don't feel pressured. It's not because of you. I just haven't met anyone else who interests me besides you. Before he could finish, I grabbed his tie and kissed him. He panicked for the first time, his ears turning bright red. When a mature, scheming man blushes, it's way more thrilling than a young guy. By the way, that tie was the one I bought. The next day, I returned the call to one of Feng Yu's cronies. He said, Chen Sainan, Feng Yu broke his leg. He's in the hospital. This time, he got my name right and he spoke cautiously. Actually, it didn't matter, because I never bothered to remember his name. I said, you should call in Jiao. Feng Yu and I are from different worlds. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, and then he told me that Feng Yu's leg was broken by N Jiao's sugar daddy on purpose. And Jiao wanted to marry Feng Yu. In their circle, marriage and being kept didn't always clash, but sometimes the sugar daddy or the husband would mind. And Jiao was unlucky. Both her sugar daddy and her husband minded. The sugar daddy himself had a family background but wouldn't allow her to marry, while Feng Yu had a string of women around him but wouldn't allow her to have a sugar daddy. Because of his broken leg, Feng Yu lost several jobs, and the penalty fees drained what little savings he had. Feng Yu and his scumbag friends probably didn't expect me to actually show up. When I appeared at the hospital, his expression was awkward, but a flash of surprise flickered in his eyes. His friends quickly made up excuses and left. Feng Yu's voice was a bit hoarse as he asked, how have you been lately? I placed the fruit basket on the chair beside him, nodded, and said, pretty good. But I'm not doing so well. Why haven't you come back all this time? Didn't you say it was a 3-day business trip? Or were you lying to me? Feng Yu's eyes held a hint of reproach. You're not leaving this time, right? I've already made it clear to her. We'll be just like before. I let out a snort. I planned to put on a sad face, but in the end I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Maybe my acting was just too good. It gave him the illusion that I'd been waiting for him to come back, always ready to be his fallback option. Feng Yu looked at me, a hint of confusion in his eyes. I wiped away the tears I'd accidentally laughed out, then said, I came back because I had a work commitment. Just a reminder. The day after tomorrow, we're getting the divorce certificate. You can come in a wheelchair. If it's really too difficult, I'll hire a caregiver for you. Feng Yu looked at me in shock. After I said that, I left. On the day we officially got the certificate, Feng Yu wasn't late. Until the moment we got the divorce certificate, he kept saying, "It's not too late for you to change your mind. We don't have to get divorced." As we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau together, he took a deep breath and said, "Chen Sainan, I know I made some mistakes before and hurt you, but..." Jiang Weichen got out of the car and opened the door for me. Feng Yu stared blankly at the scarf around Jiang Weichen's neck, watching me laugh and talk with him. "Is it done?" I nodded, shook the certificate in my hand, and got into the car. Before leaving, after making sure the divorce certificate was in hand, I finally told Feng Yu the truth. I said, "Actually, I regret it a lot. I'm different from Jiao. I'm quite prone to regret. Although every step I take is carefully considered, given my social experience and perspective, there will always be times when I make mistakes. However, I'll regret it while doing my best to turn things around. Regret is not something shameful. I regret marrying you. Someone like you is only suitable for casual dating, really not a good candidate for marriage." Feng Yu seemed not to have reacted yet, so I gave him another happy and grateful smile. "I also have to thank you. If it weren't for your cheating, I really wouldn't have known how to bring up divorce. If he hadn't committed a fundamental mistake, no one would have been on my side. But the conditions for maintaining a marriage have never been about whether the husband committed a fundamental mistake. They say marriage is a serious matter, not a child's play, that you can't divorce just because you've fallen out of love. But precisely because it's so important, mistakes are even less permissible." After saying that, Jiang Weichen started the car and drove off with me. In the rearview mirror, Feng Yu seemed to want to do something, but ended up falling off his wheelchair. Later, Feng Yu came looking for me, but was chased away by the security guard at the entrance of my workplace. He cursed, saying I was toying with him like a dog, but no one believed him. After all, I was a good person. A few years later, I happened to hear that he had gone abroad to find Inzareo, but ended up contracting that disease. After that, I heard no more news of him. By the way, by that time, I had already reached a position where I no longer had to press the elevator button myself. As for who the man still following me was, it didn't matter. Either someone who pleased me, or someone who could help me climb higher. The end. Complete.